There's something about a road that has a name instead of a number. Not I-40, not Highway 285, Route 66, the Mother Road, the road that generations of Americans drove when they were running towards something or away from something, the road that made the American road trip mean something, the road that promised the West was out there, waiting, if you just kept going. I'm Nancy, and Willie and I have been living that promise for months now. And in this episode, we're trading the volcanic landscapes of New Mexico for something even older, a highway with a heartbeat. Today, I'm going to show you a place 20 minutes away from a busy Route 66 stop that the people staying right there had never heard of. I almost skipped it myself, and I'm really glad I didn't. Let's go. The Junkyard on 66 Brewery in Grants, New Mexico, right on Old 66. It's listed as an RV overnights location. The name tells you most of what you need to know. It started as a junkyard, and at some point, someone looked around at all that wonderful, beautiful junk and thought, you know what this place needs? Beer. And they were right. By 5 o'clock both evenings, there were easily 15 or more RVs and vans pulled in for the night. Level sites, a brewery serving pub food right there on the property, and the kind of quirky, Route 66 energy that you just can't manufacture. This is the real thing, not a theme park version of it. A working, breathing junkyard turned gathering place that has been adopted by the RV community as one of its own. I was here for 2 nights. The first day I drove Route 66 to the edge of the continent, literally. The second day I found the place almost nobody knows about. We'll get there. First, the app that helps make all of this solo travel possible. I get asked one question more than almost anything else on this channel. Nancy, doesn't your family worry about you out there? Yes, they do, or they did. And here's what changed. I use an app called Snug Safety, and the concept is so simple. I'm a little annoyed no one told me about it sooner. Every day, Snug sends me a reminder to check in. I tap the app, I confirm I'm alive and well, and my friends and family get a notification letting them know that's it. One tap. And the people who love me stop refreshing my Instagram, trying to figure out if I've posted recently enough to still be okay. Now, if I don't check in, like today, my emergency contacts get notified, including my most recent location, which means if I'm ever in a situation where I genuinely can't check in, the people who care about me know something's wrong without me having to do anything. I was surprised at the activity this created amongst the people connected with me this morning. It really works. Today, I got caught up in some early morning errands, but I really need to be more mindful about the people I love. For a solo traveler traveling across the country or a family with people they worry about every day, that's not a small thing. That's the difference between my family enjoying their day and my family staring at their phones. The link to Snug Safety is in the description below. If you've got people at home who love you and worry about you, this one's for them as much as it's for you. And it's still free. Thanks, Snug, for sponsoring today's video and for continuing to give my family and friends peace of mind. Okay, back to Route 66. And let me tell you what it actually means to stand on the Continental Divide. Now, if you've ever seen a sign for the Continental Divide and wondered exactly what that means, let me explain, because it's genuinely one of the most remarkable geographic features on the entire planet. The Continental Divide is an imaginary line, a ridge, really, that runs the length of the Americas, from Alaska all the way down to South America. It follows the highest points of the Rocky Mountains and the surrounding ranges. And here is the part that stops me every time I think about it. Every drop of rain or snowmelt that falls on the west side of that line will eventually drain into the Pacific Ocean. Every drop that falls on the east side will eventually drain into the Atlantic or the Gulf of Mexico. The land itself decides where the water goes, and it decides based entirely on which side of this invisible line it lands on. I made it to the Continental Divide in Thoreau, New Mexico. It's windy today. I guess I'll start over there and then go. All the beautiful red rocks. Standing at the Continental divide marker on Route 66 in Thoreau at about an elevation of 7,275 feet, you're standing at the spine of a continent. There's something humbling about that. I stood there for a while, just thinking about the scale of the geography underneath my boots. And then I got back in the Jeep, drove back to my campsite on Old Route 66, and started planning day 2. The day I went looking for something most people staying in Grants don't even know exists. I need to tell you something before I show you this, because I'm still gutted about it. I lost my footage of this day. A dashboard camera situation and the micro SD card that held the recording from inside the park slipped out of my fingers and down in between the windshield and the glass. Gone. I sat in the parking lot outside my RV and I almost cried. I'm hoping someday I can retrieve the card and show you the lost files. But here's the thing. A place this good deserves to be talked about, whether I have perfect footage or not. So I'm going to show you what I have, and I'm going to tell you exactly why you should go there yourself. A Ventana Natural Arch in the Malpais Natural Conservation Area is about 20 minutes from where I was parked in Grants. And when I mentioned to people at the brewery that I was headed out there, blank stares. Nobody knew it existed. Nobody had heard of it. La Ventana means the window in Spanish, and when you see it, you understand exactly why. It's one of the largest accessible natural arches in New Mexico, and it is surrounded by dramatic black lava fields of El Malpais, which, for anyone who watched my Valley of Fires episode 2 videos ago, you'll recognize immediately. Malpais means bad country or badlands in Spanish, a name the Spanish settlers gave to lava fields because they were nearly impossible to cross. I spent about 2.5 hours on this drive and the short hike to the arch. The lava here is the same dramatic black basalt I walked through at Valley of Fires. Ancient flows that look almost otherworldly, like the land forgot to finish becoming land. And rising out of that black landscape, La Ventana Arch frames a perfect rectangle of New Mexico sky. Even in the rain, it's so beautiful. All right, of course, I'm headed into the wind. Now it's raining. And that was the perfect length for a hike today with this wind. And it's cold, my lips are numb. So that's how windy it is. If you look way over in the distance, you can see the dust storm. If you were ever anywhere near Grants, New Mexico, please go here. It's free, it's accessible, it's breathtaking, and almost nobody knows about it. That is exactly the kind of discovery this trip was made for. That evening, back in Grants, I took a slow drive through town because this year, Route 66 is turning 100 years old, and Grants is not letting that pass quietly. 2026 is not just any year for this road, it's the 100th birthday of Route 66. Officially established on November 11th, 1926. And a century later, communities all along the Mother Road have been rolling out celebrations, restorations, and tributes to what this road meant and still means to America. Grants had done some beautiful things. Some of the old neon signs that once lit up this stretch of highway for mid-century travelers are still here. And there was a real sense of civic pride about what this town represented in Route 66 history. In its heyday, Grants was a uranium mining boom town, the former uranium capital of the world. Then a Route 66 stop. And now, a town that knows its history and is choosing to honor it. There is something genuinely moving about a neon sign. It's not just the light, it's the post-war American dream of the open road, the family station wagon, the motor lodge, the diner with pie on the counter. I drove slowly. Route 66 deserves a slow drive. And the next morning, Willie and I crossed into Arizona, where I parked 200 feet from a national park entrance gate, watched tourists line up from my RV window, and Willie added a second credential to his resume. Our first stop in the Grand Canyon state of Arizona was the south end of the Petrified Forest National Park, where I stayed at the Crystal Forest Museum and Gift Shop. But before I get into where I stayed, can we talk about Arizona for a second? Arizona does not observe daylight savings time. The rest of the country springs forward, falls back, argues about it every 6 months, and Arizona simply does not participate, which sounds great in theory. In practice, it meant that the moment I crossed the state line, my phone did a little shimmy, and suddenly I was in a different time zone than I'd been in for weeks. Not because I traveled far enough west to earn a new time zone, just because Arizona made a decision and stuck with it. I stood in my campsite, looked at my phone, looked at the sky, and looked at my phone again. Willie was no help. He doesn't track time zones. He barely tracks time unless it's time to eat. Anyway, Petrified Forest. This is one of those wonderful old school arrangements where private businesses near park boundaries offer RV overnight parking, and my spot was literally 200 feet away from the park entrance gate. I want to say something about places like this. Neither the Junkyard on 66 nor the Crystal Forest Museum required me to spend a single dollar at their business to park overnight. But I purchased it both because when someone extends that kind of generosity and trust to the RV community, the least we can do is support them. That's how we keep these spots alive for the next RVer who comes through. From my RV window, I could watch the line of cars forming at the entrance gate each morning. I'm already here, friends. And on morning one, Willie and I joined them because he had an appointment to keep. That's right. William, the Shih Tzu, has earned his second B.A.R.K Ranger certificate from the National Park Service. This time at the Rainbow Forest Visitor Center at the south entrance of Petrified Forest. If you missed his first certification at Petroglyph National Monument, I'll link that video. But the short version is that the B.A.R.K Ranger program is the NPS's program for dogs. Willie takes all of these very seriously, especially the part where he gets the certificate and I take approximately 40 photos of him. After the ceremony, and yes, we absolutely treated it as a ceremony, we hiked the Petrified Wood Trail behind the visitor center. And if you've never actually stood next to a piece of petrified wood and tried to wrap your brain around what you're looking at, let me explain it, because the science is almost as stunning as the view. Petrified wood is not wood anymore. It's rock. Over millions of years, trees that were buried in sediment had their organic material gradually replaced, molecule by molecule, by silica, essentially quartz. The result is stone that still looks exactly like wood. You can see the grain, you can see the rings. In many cases, you can see the bark, but it weighs the same as rock, some of them the size of tree trunks, lying in sections, red and purple and gold in the afternoon light. The desert does not give you soft beauty. It gives you ancient, uncompromising geological beauty, and you are grateful for it. That evening, it gave us something else entirely. That first evening, I witnessed one of the most spectacular sunsets of my entire trip. I know I say that a lot, and I'm aware that I've said it while at White Sands and at Valley of Fires and somewhere in Texas, but I want to defend myself. The American Southwest is genuinely, consistently, almost aggressively beautiful at sunset. The sky does things here that it simply doesn't do in other places. The light over the painted desert that evening was, there just aren't words. There are only the colors. Orange layering into rose, layering into purple, layering into a blue so deep it looked like the sky was falling into itself. My fellow campers and I all stepped outside of our RVs and just stared at the sky for a good 30 minutes. Tomorrow, we drive the full length of the park, 28 miles. And because Petrified Forest National Park really is dog-friendly, I brought Willie with me. I want to show you every bit of it, including a marker that made me really think about the history of this place. The next morning, we drove from the south entrance of the park to the painted desert at the north end. I'm sure there are many, 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 many other videos out there of the Petrified Forest. But depending on the light and the time of day you go through, I think it would be different every time. They call these the teepees. Just enjoying the drive. The painted desert earns its name. The hills and badlands across the northern ends of the park are striped in banded layers of color: rust, lavender, cream, gray, deep burgundy, the result of different mineral compositions in different geological layers, laid down over millions of years and then slowly exposed by erosion. It looks painted because the colors are too vivid and too deliberate to seem accidental, but they are entirely accidental. Wow, oh my gosh, look at this. Just come over the top and look at that. So yes, we will be taking this stop too. Wow. And it's easier to stop in a car than it is an RV. That's just what time does to sandstone. One of the stops that meant the most to me was the marker showing where old Route 66 used to run directly through the park. The highway was incorporated into the park boundary decades ago, and the road itself is long gone. But you can stand at that marker and look out at the landscape and imagine the cars that rolled through here, the travelers who drove this route before the interstate, the families who pulled over right there at that exact spot and took their own photos of this same impossible sky. That's what Route 66 does to you. It makes history feel like it's still happening. But that night, the temperature dropped to 23 degrees, and I had no shore power. 23 degrees. No electric hookups, solar only. This was officially the coldest night I've ever had in the RV since I've been RVing. And I want to walk you through exactly what I did, because if you're boondocking in cold weather, this matters. I followed what I've started calling my cold night procedures. The hot water heater stayed on all night. This keeps the water in the lines moving and warm. The mini split heater ran through the night on a low steady setting. I put my thermal curtain up across the door to block the cold that bleeds through that entry point. Willie had his spot. Everything was battened down. And the result? The RV never dropped below 68 degrees inside. And when I got up in the morning, the water pump came on immediately. No frozen lines, no issues, no drama. Cold boondocking in a well-insulated rig with the right systems is very manageable. It's not comfortable the same way a hookup site is comfortable, but it is absolutely doable. And there's something really satisfying about waking up warm when it's 23 degrees outside and knowing your system's held. If you want my full cold night checklist, along with 9 more of the checklists I use, I'll put it in the description below. The next morning, systems intact, coffee in hand.
There's the Wigwam Hotel, Route 66. Historical place where you can still stay in Wigwam.
There was one stop I was not going to skip. Not a chance. Winslow, Arizona. Standing on the corner park, the corner that the Eagles wrote about in Take It Easy in 1972, the mural, the flatbed Ford, the girl, my lord, in a flatbed Ford slowing down to take a look at me. How can I even say that without singing it? Look, it's a tourist stop. I know that. But some tourist stops have earned their status completely legitimately. This song, this corner, this town, they represent something real about the Route 66 era, about the American West, about a particular kind of freedom that the open road has always promised. I stood on that corner. I took the photo, I bought the stickers and the t-shirt, and I felt the feeling. It was worth it. Then we made a left in Flagstaff and headed south toward the next chapter of this adventure. Route 66 is 100 years old this year. 100 years of dreamers and road trippers and families and wanderers. 100 years of neon and diners and motor courts and desert sunsets. 100 years of people pointing the car west and deciding to find out what was out there, like I'm doing. I am one of those people. Willie is along for the ride and probably having even more fun than I am. There's something this road gives you that the interstate can't. It's not efficiency. Route 66 is famously inefficient. It's not even speed. It's not even scenery exactly, though the scenery is often extraordinary. It's texture. History has left marks on it. That's the bargain Route 66 offers. Slow down. Look around. Something's worth seeing. You may have to look a little harder than travelers did 50 years ago because Route 66 has changed in ways that are worth understanding. When Interstate 40 was built in the 1970s and 80s, it didn't just give America a faster road west, it bypassed Route 66 almost entirely. Towns that had thrived for decades on the traffic of the Mother Road suddenly found themselves a quarter-mile off an exit ramp that most people blew right past at 75 miles an hour. Some of those towns adapted. Some didn't make it. Route 66 was officially decommissioned in 1985. I was surprised to see that today, significant stretches of old Route 66 are gone. Not just abandoned, physically gone, paved over, reclaimed by desert, or simply unmaintained to the point where the road dissolved back into the land it came from. Other sections exist but are closed to the public. There are places where you can see Route 66 on a map, follow the line with your finger, and then drive out there and find nothing but cracked asphalt disappearing into scrubland. A faded sign, maybe a building with its windows long since gone. The towns that survived did so by choosing to survive. They leaned into the history, restored the neon, welcomed the road trippers who sought out the Mother Road on purpose. Grants is one of those towns. Winslow is one of those towns. They made a decision that their story was worth telling, and they kept telling it. And that's actually what makes driving Route 66 in 2026 feel different from just driving a highway. You're not just moving through space. You're moving through layers of American history, the boom and the bust, the promise and the lost, the towns that held on, and the ones you can only find in old photographs now. Some of it's beautiful, some of it's a little heartbreaking. All of it is real. In our next episode, Verde Valley, Arizona, we've got ancient cliff dwellings, one of my favorite campgrounds of the entire trip, and a town that was once known as the wickedest town in America. I'll see you there. Until then, keep making your own lane.